Citizenship, Bullying, and Technology.
Guiding questions for thought. Why has bullying increased with the use of technology? What can one do as a teacher to address cyberbullying issues? What is cyberbullying? Cyberbullying is known as the intentional and repeated harm inflicted on people through the use of computers, cellular telephones, and other electronic devices. It often includes mocking, harassment, threatening, and/or the humiliation of others. Cyberbullying is made possible because of the wide availability along with the continuous growth of technology over the years. Research shows that cyberbullying is unique because the bully can hide their identity, the potential audience is huge, the bully doesn't see the target's initial reaction, the bully may be a person that doesn't have power in person yet has superior technological skills. Everything posted online is permanent. Online disinhibition, the tendency to say and do things in cyberspace that would not be said or done in person.
Challenges with technology that foster cyberbullying. 1 in 5 children will be a target of cyberbullying. With this statistic, it is important to examine the psychology behind cyberbullying and the challenges educators face. Technology has made it possible to communicate without face-to-face contact. Students are much more apt to bully another student over electronic communication where facial expressions, tone, and an actual physical presence is not present. Bullying is no longer confined to school grounds because of technology. Most students have access to a form of electronic device at home, which means bullying and discipline for such actions must be considered beyond the hours of school operation. Opportunities with technology and cyberbullying prevention. Adding technology to the classroom can open up the issue of cyberbullying. It is important to inform students of the benefits technology affords them. Using technology in the classroom encourages collaboration, fosters inclusion, and increases engagement. Technology allows for students to communicate and socialize with ease while having easy access to a wealth of information. A school must foster an environment where these benefits can flourish. It is vital a school has strict policies in place that exterminate and properly punish any type of bullying through technology.
Hi, this is Amanda. Cyberbullying continues to harm and affect many students by using hate accounts, hurtful social media posts, online rumors, and gossip. The intention is almost always to embarrass, threaten, humiliate, or abuse other people. While there is no exact way to completely stop cyberbullying, but there are some ways parents and students can prevent or reduce the likelihood of being cyberbullied. You can protect accounts and devices, use privacy tools and settings, keep personal information private, and don't respond to cyberbullies, and remember to always report any kind of cyberbullying. Cyberbully prevention continued. Protect accounts and devices. Always use passwords for accounts in any device. Make sure your passwords are not easily guessed passwords, such as your username, birth date, your name, or your phone number. Also, do not share your passwords with anyone except your parents/guardians. Use privacy tools and settings. After creating any account, you need to go to the privacy settings and turn on the most secure settings the account allows. This means making an account private, preventing people from tagging them, and requiring other people to get permission before sharing one of their photos. Having more secure settings to your account will make cyberbullying a lot more difficult. It will also help removing the cyberbully from involving your account again. Keep personal information private. Students should never share personal information on social media, such as their address, phone number, email address, and where they go to school if they have followers they don't really know. Don't respond, always report. Students should refrain from responding to the cyberbullying, which means don't argue, explain, or engage with the cyberbully in any way. Always report any type of cyberbullying happening. This means to report to their social media platform and the student's school to explain to the platform and school what is going on. Students should also know even if they are not the person being cyberbullied, they still do not respond to the cyberbully. Also, students need to report to the social media platform and their school about everything they know that was being done. Hi, this is Amanda. What can schools do about cyberbullying? Schools can provide information to students about legal ramifications of cyberbullying as well as make it a part of the school's policy and student code of conduct with regard to the use of technology in appropriate and respectful interactions that do not compromise the physical, emotional health of students with specific consequences detailed. It is important to educate students about what cyberbullying is and how it can affect other people. Some students might think they are just joking around with their friends through social media, but really they could be hurting the other person's self-esteem. If students become more educated and understand cyberbullying, then more students might think twice before they post something hurtful about another person. Educating children about the possible negative impacts of posting personal information online and providing training about how to remove personal information that shouldn't be online can alleviate opportunities for cyberbullying attacks.
For the students that attend Watchung Hills High School, these hallways, classrooms, and sports fields are the hub of their daily activities and their social world. But there is another social world that is hidden from view, a sometimes perilous online world where interactions are public, but comments can be anonymous.
Well, in 6th grade, there was this really bad rumor going around about me, and this was before cyberbullying was such a big deal. It was like no one really knew the consequences. No one really realizes even the littlest things they did, they hurt me so bad. And I stayed home that day from school. I was so scared. I was crying the whole day.
Before cyberbullying, the victims of bullying would be able to go home and they would have that safety in their homes. Now they go home and it starts all over again when they're on instant messaging, or even if they have their phone and someone's texting them, and it never stops them, and that's why it's so serious.
Will people stand up for those people that are being made fun of on Facebook or other? People don't comment to stick up for the person that's being denigrated in some way? Interesting.
Why do you think that is?
If it's online, why doesn't anybody say, hey, what's wrong with you? You're writing something that's killing someone inside.
Our friends on Facebook aren't really our closest friends. They're acquaintances. So you don't always have that safety in numbers, because although your friends will say 100 people, probably only 5 of them are actually your closest friends that would stand up with you.
On the internet, the words are forever. You can't take them back. So if you stand up, you're always going to be known as the person who stood up. It's almost more intimidating to stand up because everybody can see it.
What I found really interesting was the discussion. They were willing, to stand up in a group of people to confront one-on-one. But then once it became online, it became more anonymous, that they were afraid to say something, because once you put it in writing, it's out there for everyone to see it. There's almost 2 separate worlds that they're participating in.
1 week earlier, this class, along with most of the Watchung Hills student body, attended a presentation given by Monmouth County Detective Dave D'Amico.
I'm a police officer responsible for the investigation of bias incidents and bias crimes. I also have the awesome opportunity to go and publicly speak about how to reduce bias incidents and crimes so that young adults don't find themselves in trouble and they understand the consequences to that behavior.
This presentation is going to be real. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's talk about it. And let's talk about what's happening when it comes to bias-based bullying on the internet. Now, I got to tell you this. I went on Facebook and I infiltrated your Facebook last night. And some of you trusted me. Some of you friended me. And the ones that did, I got to see everything about you. But there was something else going on Facebook last night that kind of disturbed me. One male commented on another male's picture. On the comments, they said, "Oh, you are so gay, you're such a fag." Is that on Facebook? Girls, one girl posted on another girl's picture, "You look like such a slut, you're such a hoe." Is that on Facebook? Aha.
Detective D'Amico, he talked about how comments like that are thrown around so lightly by friends too, but nobody knows the magnitude that those words have, and he really tried to emphasize that. He said hate groups start by finding people who have those types of comments on their Facebooks, so you really have to think about it at a higher level.
The way that he said it, people were like, "I friended that person last night. I friended that person. I could be at risk for saying something stupid that I don't even mean to one of my friends. And I could be at risk of joining a hate group." And people look at that and they're like, "I don't want that to define me. I don't want people to know me like that."
I know we're all guilty of saying something we shouldn't have said or not saying anything.
If you don't have enough courage to say it to someone to their face, to say it and mean it, then you really have no right at all to say it. You have to be willing to accept the consequences. If you're anonymous, it means that you're terrified of being known as the person who said that.
Recently, actually, one of my pictures, someone else tagged with derogatory names of two of my friends, and it was obviously supposed to be joking, but you don't put that kind of stuff online. So I untagged those tags and I defriended that person on Facebook, and I don't want those kind of people having access to my information, and sometimes you just have to make the decision to not allow those people into your life.
My table came up with the idea to really implement the usage of social networking and Facebook and the internet to get our point across about accepting everybody and all getting along.
The revolution in Egypt started over YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. So I think if everybody works together to kind of want to eradicate the intolerance going on in our own school, I think that it can really be accomplished.
I think it's a great idea, what you're saying, to use Facebook, because even if only 2 people post it, like Emily said, I mean, they probably have some mutual friends, but they also have a wide variety of friends too. So they might have friends in California who might post it, which then starts a chain reaction in California. Then it could spread to all these states.
Another idea is just to actually create a Watchung Hills tolerance group on Facebook, and you can invite other people to see it.
Is that something you could see yourself starting?
Yeah.
The challenge for you is who is going to be the individual or the people within the group that take that next step. I think it relates back to the idea of how do you move a bystander to become an upstander. It's great, we can talk about all of this, but how are you going to make a change? And I think they agreed to, as you challenged them on it today, to take the first step, and who will post it?
Students took to their Facebook pages that evening, posting positive status updates and creating a new tolerance group for their school.
I'm really optimistic about this. It's amazing how much a simple tweet, a simple text message, a simple status update can do to help change the world.
You're talking about a ripple effect, and if every student is just a drop of water in a pool, one drop makes a ripple.
The most important idea when we talk proactively about bias incidents and bias crimes is don't let it happen in front of them. And if it does happen in front of them, do something to stop it. Don't be a bystander. Don't walk away and ignore it. Face this challenge head on.
Stop hate!
Final thoughts. In conclusion, cyberbullying has increased with the availability of technology. Students need to be educated about cyberbullying at home, their school, and in the community to encourage positive digital citizenship. It is important for school systems not only to educate students on cyberbullying, but have policies in place that discourage and punish such activity. Cyberbullying is something that we see in society far past education, so if we can impact students on the topic while they are young, we have a better chance of it being prevented when they are grown. Emergency online teaching's impact on students and teachers.
Guiding questions for thought. What are the benefits of online teaching? What are the challenges of online teaching? Has online teaching proved to be successful or unsuccessful overall? What is online teaching/learning? Referred to as e-learning, online teaching is education that takes place over the internet. Distance learning is the term used for any type of learning from a distance and not in the traditional classroom. Online learning includes courses that are internet-based and offered synchronously or asynchronously. Teachers can use programs such as Blackboard, WebCT, or eCollege to create their virtual classroom for students to do their assignments. Today, online learning is by far the most popular approach to distant learning.
Challenges of online teaching. As most schools adopted emergency online teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic, one large struggle for students and teachers alike in remote or low-resource communities was access to affordable, high-speed internet. This lack of prior technological infrastructure put a strain on both teachers and students as they tried to keep up with the course of study. The proper technology needed to continue their studies was only one of the issues. Students and teachers also faced the challenge of staying motivated and the upsurge of mental distress due to the absence of in-person human interaction. Opportunities afforded by online teaching. Because many students and teachers had to solely rely on online teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic, new creative ways to incorporate technology into the curriculum were formed. Many of these strategies have continued to be used even as face-to-face classes resumed. Government bodies and policymakers are working to provide the infrastructure needed so that all areas have access to high-speed internet. Governments hope to create an equitable learning environment for future emergency scenarios that may require mandated online learning.
Hi, this is Amanda. Strategies to help the impact of online teaching. Talk about the impact of the pandemic. To keep adults and students healthy and support students learning during the new academic year, students cannot ignore or simply move past the effects of the pandemic. When students are supported and feel understood in their struggles related to the pandemic, their capacity to function overall improves. Allow students time to adjust to the school environment. The pandemic affected each person in a different way. Introverted people might have thrived during the pandemic because they loved being at home away from people. But extroverted people might have dreaded the pandemic because they couldn't be around people. So going back to in-person learning for an extroverted person might be excited for them. But for introverted, it could cause a lot of anxiety. Some students might need more guidance than others to understand the rules and expectations of the school environment. For example, if a student was a 5th grader during the pandemic and when schools opened back up the next year for in-person learning, that student would now be a 6th grader in middle school. Going from an elementary environment to a middle school environment is very different, even without going through a pandemic. So that student would need time to not only get used to being around other people again, but also understand the difference in the middle school environment. Provide extra investments for students falling behind. During online learning, some students did not receive all the support they needed to succeed at school. When students came back to in-person learning, some students were a grade or 2 behind because of online learning. Now these students are back in person. Educators will need sufficient appropriate resources and tools to enable students to catch up and continue their development. It is not these students' fault that they fell behind academically, Before the pandemic, students who needed extra help during school had access to different educators who helped them understand better. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, it was harder for students to receive that extra help they needed to succeed in school.
Well, yeah, there is a big debate over getting kids back into the classroom or just staying 100% virtual to start off the school year. But the online option comes with some challenges. A lot of parents know that now. 13 News Now reporter Connor Reel breaks it down and a silver lining.
We're taught to learn through interaction. We're not taught to learn virtually.
Dr. Kawana Ward says this is especially true for younger students, still learning so much outside of the textbook.
Infancy to toddler to school-age children, they do what they see others doing. And so there's a lot of learning that's taking place even when we're not intentionally teaching.
Kindergarten teacher Renee Gathers was aware of these pitfalls early on.
At first, I thought it would be a problem.
The kids proved her wrong.
Now, not at all, because kids are like sponges. You just show them what to do and they soak it up.
Dr. Ward agrees.
Our children are resilient, and more and more children at younger and younger ages are being exposed to social media, electronic devices, and they're learning to navigate. They're learning to adapt. Our children are adaptable, they're resilient, and they will overcome the situation.
After all, we may be concerned about the wrong age bracket.
I think adults, we have a hard time adapting.
Online instruction requires a lot more hands-on from our parents. Online requires that our students are much more accountable. It requires that our parents are much more accountable. So our parents need to be actively involved in their child's education.
One thing is for certain, we're all in this new normal together.
Teaching is a group effort, so it's the teacher, the student, and the parents. And if I had to leave any advice, I would just say, parents, don't be hard on yourself. Do what you can do. We'll do what we can do, and everything will work out.
In Virginia Beach, I'm Connor Reel, 13 News Now.
Final thoughts. The COVID-19 pandemic caused all school systems to switch to emergency online teaching. The switch to emergency online teaching showed not only the lack of infrastructure for all students to have equitable, high-speed internet access, but also the importance of face-to-face instruction. Teachers adopted many new instruction strategies during the pandemic that utilize technology and are still applicable now in-person teaching resumed. Emergency online instruction showed how crucial it is for all students to be well-versed in digital citizenship and proper communication using technology.